Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is repeating history as we've now just confirmed a new short-term warning signal, potentially about to play out what we saw last time. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside the fact that we now have massive liquidity building just above the price of Bitcoin, while Ethereum and Solana are potentially forming some short-term double top patterns. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin price chart, and right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green. So right now we're still within a larger bullish trend, and of course on this weekly time frame, not much has changed over the last one day. We're still forming higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI, which means there's still a possible bearish divergence forming on the weekly time frame. But at least for now, this new bearish divergence is not currently confirmed. It is not playing out, at least not yet. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course right now we're still seeing a lot of bullish momentum showing up in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. So overall on the weekly time frame, we're still currently looking much more bullish than we are bearish. And the last few bullish crossovers that we saw in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, of course we saw much more bullish price action over the next few weeks and months for the price of Bitcoin. And so far it's only been around 2 to 3 weeks since this bullish crossover confirmed. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is still trading right around the previous all-time highs that we set back in the beginning of this year at roughly around 109,000. And so obviously, despite the latest short-term pullback, short-term dip in the price that we saw over the last couple of days, we're still at pretty much all-time highs. So overall, we're still looking really good here on the larger timeframes. And so far, we've not really seen any confirmation signals telling us that this is the top for the price of Bitcoin. So at least based on the 3-day chart and especially the weekly chart, these are still telling us that we're likely going to go higher in the next few weeks or months. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, of course, over the last one day, we just confirmed the daily candle close back below the previous all-time high of 109,000. So technically speaking, we could now find a bit of short-term resistance at roughly around 109k to 110k. And as for support, we're currently finding some short-term support based on this little high right here, flipping into new support at close to 107,000. And below that, I would expect more support at around 105,000 and major support at 102,000 if we actually get there. And so those are some of the support and resistance levels to watch out for, at least in the shorter term here. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 12-hour time frame, technically speaking, we have confirmed this shorter term bearish divergence, with obviously higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes and lower highs now confirmed in the 12-hour Bitcoin RSI. And this is now being confirmed with 2 strong candle closes here in the red, confirming the lower high in place in RSI. And the last time we saw a bearish divergence like this on the 12-hour time frame was basically at the very beginning of May is when we saw the last one actually confirm here. And so only just a few weeks ago we saw the same thing play out, and what ultimately happened from that bearish divergence we can see is just a short-term pullback, a little bit of choppy sideways price action as well, and then ultimately the continuation of the larger bullish trend later on. And so it's important to understand these bearish divergences, especially on the slightly smaller time frames, are not always trend reversal signals. Sometimes it just means we're going to see a little bit of a cool off, a break from the bullish trend in the shorter term, but not necessarily the end of the trend. So a likely scenario is a little bit more of a cool off here in the coming days, and then perhaps in a week or a few weeks from now, we'll likely continue on with the bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, what's very interesting is most of the liquidity, at least in the somewhat shorter term here, is now building above the price of Bitcoin. So first of all, we do have some smaller levels of liquidity to watch out for to the downside at roughly around 105 to 106k and also at around 104k. So still pay attention to those levels, but right now most of the liquidity is in between around 112,000 to 113,000. And we can see here, and as I've said many times here on the channel, usually the price of Bitcoin goes towards where there's most liquidity, and obviously that's what we've seen in the past here over the last few days, over the last few weeks. And so keep in mind, after we first play out a little bit more of a cool off, considering the bearish divergence is still something we have to consider now that it's active on the 12-hour time frame, after that plays out maybe in the next few days, it is very likely we will ultimately come back up towards the upside to take out this liquidity at all-time highs. But as I always say, of course, there's no such thing as a 100% guarantee. It's just that is one of the most likely scenarios here moving forward. And so with all of that in mind, what is my trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin? And well, very simply, I'm still in the swing trade long position because I'm still still bullish on the larger trend here. So of course, during the larger bullish trend, we can see little cool-offs and slowdowns and pullbacks in the shorter term from time to time during the bullish trend. But because I'm still bullish on the overall trend for the price of Bitcoin, once again, I'm remaining in this larger swing trade here, the long position, which I entered close to a month ago now, which I shared here on the channel back then. And over the last one day, I've made no new changes to this position. So my stop loss is still sitting at the same level sitting at yesterday. And being very transparent with this trade, my realized profits are still roughly around 4,600 and unrealized profits roughly around 10,500 USDT. So overall, of course, not too bad with this one long position here. But for the new viewers that are just finding this channel that missed this trade that I shared around a month ago here on the channel, of course, I will be looking to potentially accumulate a new long position after we first play out this bearish divergence a little longer. I'll potentially look at some entry points at some key levels of support, for example, to slowly accumulate a long position for potentially the next breakout into new all-time highs to take out that liquidity. And so, of course, in the coming days, if I do end up taking more of a trade here, I will be sharing that here on the channel as always. And of course, if you want to take these trades for yourself, like what I'm doing right here, personally, I'm taking this trade over on 2bit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, where you can also claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $50,000 you can claim using the link below this video just by trading crypto. But if you're not one of these larger traders here, you can claim a $30 sign up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus, but only if you use that link. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check the local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2bit as an exchange, there's also BTNex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to BTNex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, where you can also claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to 35,000 in USDT, and also deposit bonuses. Like for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus over on BTNex. But once again, only if you use that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using the links below this video to take advantage of these massive trading bonuses here. And of course, BTNex is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and right now Ethereum is still just trading within this sideways price range between support and resistance. So first of all, this level of support is still sitting at roughly around 2.4k, and this area of resistance is still sitting in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. And unfortunately for the Ethereum holders out there, I still expect relatively boring price action in the shorter term, just neutral price action. So not necessarily significant bullish or significant bearish price action, basically just staying range bound for the time being, most likely for the next few days, possibly longer, maybe another week or so. But at least in the short term, expect the price to kind of just remain within this sideways price range, considering at least for now, we do have relatively strong support at around 2.4k. And of course, that resistance is also very strong. But technically speaking, while we're within this shorter term sideways price range, the trend for Ethereum on the daily time frame is of course still bullish. We are not in a bearish trend. If we're forming higher lows and higher highs, that's essentially a bullish trend, of course. And if we can finally confirm a breakout with candle closes confirming above around 2.8k, in that situation, it's extremely likely would head up towards around 3.2k to 3.3k, but only if we first confirm this breakout here. But once again, continue to expect strong resistance for the time being in that area in between 2.7k to 2.8k. And if we're zooming further into the shorter term, taking a look at the 6-hour Ethereum price chart, there is a possibility of a double top pattern forming here, because we clearly already have a potential double top in the price. But in order to actually confirm this as a double top, which would essentially be a bearish trend reversal signal, in that situation, in order to actually confirm this, we need to see a break below this low point right here, which is sitting at below 2.4k. We're talking about potentially around 2350. And so for as long as the price of ETH is holding above this level of support for the sideways price range, we're still looking okay when it comes to the trend on the daily time frame. We're just once again taking a bit of a short-term pause during the trend. But if we lose this level of support, if we start confirming especially daily candle closes below that level and below around 2350, in that situation, we do potentially have a double top on our hands. And in that situation, if we actually confirm a break below this low right here, then honestly, it is quite likely will drop back down towards around 2.1k as the next significant level of support. But once again, for the time being, just expect relatively boring price action chopping around sideways in this range, just at least for the next few days once again. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 3-day time frame, technically this bullish divergence on the 3-day chart is still active, which means overall we're still within this larger bullish relief, which is effectively a bullish trend, which is also visible on the daily time frame, forming higher lows and higher highs in a clear bullish trend. But similar to what I just said for Ethereum, the price of Solana is basically within a bit of a sideways price range for the time being, just in the shorter term, lacking momentum in the immediate short term, bouncing around between support and resistance. And the support and resistance I'm talking about is, first of all, around $165, give or take, as the support level to watch out for. But if we confirm candle closes below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, the next support to the downside would be sitting at around 154, and below that we have some significant support in between 144 to 146. And as for short-term resistance, we do have a decent amount of resistance at roughly $184, and also significant resistance in between around 191 to 200. And while the price of Solana is just bouncing around in a bit of a sideways price range in the shorter term, if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, just like I said for Ethereum, there's a possible double top pattern forming for Solana, at least for now on the shorter term. But I want to make this clear, this possible double top pattern here is not currently confirmed, because like I said for Ethereum, once again, in order to confirm this double top, we need to break below this low point right here, the low between the two highs, and that point for Solana is sitting at roughly around 160. And so if we start breaking below that level, especially with candle closes below that level, that will effectively confirm the double top pattern in the shorter term for the price of Solana. And in that situation, it would be extremely likely would at least drop down towards these lows at roughly around 144, give or take, as the next major support. And of course, in that situation, that would also be a breakdown of the bullish price structure if we confirm the double top. But I want to make this clear once again, at least for now, we have not currently confirmed the double top because we've not broken below that low. It's just something that is possibly forming and something to watch out for in case it confirms. But overall, honestly, a very likely scenario in the shorter term is relatively neutral price action bouncing around in this sideways price range. And for the time being, the bullish trend is still currently in place on the daily time frame. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, of course, also we are seeing a bit of a short-term cool-off for XRP, just like what I've been saying throughout this video. And over the last one day, we saw a break below this retracement level here, but we bounced at pretty much exactly $2.30. And of course, I've been saying recently here on the channel, that's the support to watch out for at roughly around 230 to 234. And we basically got to the lower area of that support, $2.30, and then bounced at that exact level. But if, for example, we start seeing daily candle closes confirm below $2.30, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, it would be quite likely it would continue a move down towards around $2.10 to $2.15 as the next major area of support. But technically speaking, despite these short-term pullbacks that we see in the price of XRP, overall, the trend, at least for now, is still currently bullish. We're still forming higher lows and higher highs. So once again, the trend is bullish, but we're taking a bit of a pause during the bullish trend, just like what I've been saying throughout this video. And as for resistance, we have some short-term resistance right here at roughly around $2.44 and significant resistance in this area in between around $2.55 to $2.62. And now, even if we potentially continue more of a pullback for the price of XRP, that's not necessarily all bad news, because, for example, if we continue a pullback, let's just say down towards this next major support at roughly around $2.10 to $2.15, and then let's just say we bounce somewhere around there on the price chart, there's a possible significant inverse head and shoulders pattern forming for the price of XRP on the daily time frame, which would be a massive bullish price pattern if we actually form the right shoulder here and then confirm a breakout above the golden pocket. But once again, I want to make it clear, at least for now, this possible inverse head and shoulders pattern is not confirmed. It is not currently active on the price chart, but it's possibly forming. So it's something to pay attention to in case we see a bit more of a pullback here. Once again, that's not necessarily all bad news, because we could be forming a larger bullish price pattern. And in case you're wondering, if we actually form and confirm this pattern by seeing a right shoulder like this and then a breakout above the golden pocket, in that situation, situation, that would set up a significant bullish price target well beyond $3, likely into new all-time highs. But in the immediate short term, talking about just the next few days or so, don't necessarily expect significant bullish momentum. Honestly, right now we have a lack in momentum, at least in the immediate short term, especially while Bitcoin and a lot of these other cryptos are seeing these short-term cool-offs that really affects the overall crypto market. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a very similar story for Chainlink. We're currently seeing a bit of a lack in momentum, a bit of a short-term cool-off, but technically still within a bullish trend. We've not yet confirmed a reversal out of this bullish price structure, but as of recording this video, we're currently retesting this very important area of support sitting in between around 1490 to 1550. And if we actually confirm daily candle closes below around $14.90, in that situation, that would be the first breakdown in the price structure, pointing towards possibly a new shorter term bearish trend starting to form. And in that situation, if we lose 1490 as support, it's extremely likely we'll drop to at least around 1350, possibly down towards below $13, around 1280 to 1290. And as for resistance, we still have significant resistance at roughly around 1750 to 1760. And just over the last couple of days, we got very close to almost 1750 again, back into the 17 area. And then of course the price started to struggle around there. So continue to expect a lot of resistance around there on the price chart. And honestly, just pay attention to what Bitcoin and a lot of the crypto market's doing. If Bitcoin plays out a continued short-term cool-off like this, playing out the bearish divergence on the 12-hour time frame, that will likely affect a lot of the crypto market, which means don't necessarily expect significant bullish momentum, at least in the immediate short term right now for a lot of altcoins. But remember, if you want to get set up ready to go to take the next trading opportunity, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take trades just like this to make a lot of profits in the crypto market, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.